Hey Rockstar, welcome back to the show. I got a really good quote for you guys today. Try this thought on for size. The businessman and financial professional Art L. Williams, he once said, "All you can do is all you can do, and all you can do is enough. But make sure you do all you can do." Rockstar, try that thought on for size. Welcome, I'm Jose Emiliano, and this is Hey Rockstar. Get ready, because we got an awesome show for you today. And Miguel, do the thing, yo.
One, two, three. One, two, three. Let's go.
Hey Rockstar, welcome. This is a show devoted to bringing value to those interested in starting a side hustle or side business. Whether you're looking to be dual vocational, full-time, part-time, or sometime, I bet our stories will entertain you, encourage you, and empower you to become the rock star of your business and industry. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Welcome to Hey Rockstar. If today's your first time, just remember, we're just a storytelling platform. We're here highlighting the stories of leaders and entrepreneurs who have gone out there and done the work, done the task. They've overcome. They're still working on it, and we're pulling value from those stories that will help give you the empowerment, the encouragement, the entertainment that you need so that you then can go and become the rock star of your industry. Welcome. I don't know whether you're watching us from YouTube, whether you're watching from LinkedIn or Facebook. Welcome. The rules of the house are, if you want to, participate in our conversation, go ahead and drop a line, go ahead and drop a comment on the chat. If it's relevant to our conversation, I will highlight it as we go. If not, we'll try to catch them all at the end of the show. But without further ado, welcome everyone. Today, all the way from California. I've been bringing a lot more California people, but that's because I've been going more over there. And although this time he actually came here to Texas, and we got to meet in Dallas a few weeks ago, and his story is amazing. So, Mr. I don't know why I keep wanting to call you Eric. It's not Mr. Mark-Anthony Estrada. Welcome to
Oh,
How are you today, my man?
I'm doing well. I remember our first conversation. You're like, "Have you ever watched Chips?" Man, I get that so often. Oh man, yeah,
And to be
that's
fair,
great.
when you first introduced to me, you were only introduced as Mark. I didn't know your name was Mark-Anthony, because that would have been more of a staple. I would totally ran with that one, especially
Well,
you being
thank you.
Latino and all.
Yeah,
But
well,
other than that,
I definitely brand myself Mark Anthony, but when introductions, I just say Mark. It's a lot to say, but
welcome to the show. Welcome to the family. Let's go and get this party started. If you don't mind, I'm going to take my shades off because I like to have more contact with everyone. Just Mark-Anthony, what's your story, man?
let's jump into it. So, as you know, I shared a bit of my story in Dallas, spending some time in foster care, and since then, really just trying to find myself as a young man, and a lot of my journey over the last couple of years has been difficult. Trying to steadfast in my beliefs and my faith in the Lord. And, I've hit a lot of bumps in the road, and all of those, have added to my testimony. And I really feel like now I'm starting to get to a point where I'm starting to get some momentum going with my writing, and feeling like passionate about pursuing that. And and through prayer and my scripture actually reading, um, the story of Jeremiah.
Yeah.
It's so important to me, and so valuable to me. Jeremiah also felt like he wasn't worthy, and he felt like he wasn't meant to be a prophet, right? And the Lord said, no, you're gonna go here, you're gonna speak to them, and you're gonna share the words that I give you to share, right? And so like that's kind of feel like where I feel like I am in my life right now. I feel like I'm not worthy of it, and I feel like I'm not quite, well polished as much as I'd like to be, but God is guiding me in the path that I'm in my life right now, and I'm all for it, and I'm happy and blessed.
Thank you, man. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, for those of you who are familiar with, we have a faith background, and we technically we use the Holy Scripture as one of our main guides in our day to day. So whenever I find other men of faith or women of faith out there, I love to bring them because it's not just about being in church, but also how we're relevant to this world, especially what we bring, what businesses, what opportunities, what kind of value we bring. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna pick a little bit at your story from the let's just start from the thumbnail. People are asking me, why the heck did you pick? Why do you say this? I like to try to put something catchy. He was told he'd never walk again, and in Dallas, you just kind of grazed through that story. But would you mind just kind of talking about that was one of your first, I guess, obstacles that was given? I guess not even given to you. It just happened to be part of you.
Yeah. So I do minimalize that story, but I feel like if I share it more, there's power there. So when I was born with a congenital short femur. My femur bone was actually broken in half, and the doctors had actually um, recommended that my family move to California, and that's actually what brought me to California from New Jersey. And so that move was to get me to a hospital here where there are specialists that were working on an innovative surgery revolved around my condition. And so my family made that move, and I had gotten my first surgery when I was 5 years old after only being here in the state for about a year and a half.
Wow.
And going through that process, I wasn't able. I had a device on the outside of my femur on my right leg, and every day we had to use like a little tool and turn it a certain amount of degrees, and so basically that was stretching out my bone. And so doing that every day for like 6 months, and I couldn't bend my from my knee. I couldn't bend that. So um, after that device came out of my leg, I had to like relearn how to walk and gain balance and stability, and then learn how to run, right? And so I had two surgeries when I was 5 and then 10 years old, and through that process, a lot of physical therapy, a lot of care that went into that process, and I asked so many questions, and at a young age, I knew like terminology that you wouldn't think like a 6-year-old would know. Um, and asking all these questions and just being intuitive of my body and wanting to know more. And it was so it just added to my resilience in life that if I can go through that and learn how to relearn how to walk, 3 different times in my life, it adds to my testimony. Like God has me here for a reason, and it's just it's just a blessing to be in the position I'm at now, where when I was about 9 years old, wanting to play sports like regular kids, and being told like that wasn't an option for me, and then being told like by the time I'm 18, I'm going to degenerate so much with my muscular system that I probably won't be walking. So these are things that are being told to a child, and it took a big effect on me over the years, being going through teenage years. Obviously,
Yeah.
kids are ruthless. But I made jokes on my about myself. um, one of the things was I was like the best on a scooter, and so childhood nickname for me was Scooter. I was able to like balance on a scooter because my legs were now the same length. So I was the fastest kid on a scooter. No, no one could catch me. So I would have those little moments where I would make the best of my situation and always make sure my cup was filled, regardless of my circumstances. And I think that's still a testament to my life even to this day, and I'm
That
grateful for it.
that is such a that's a good key to have right there. Learn to make the best of your situation as a kid.
Absolutely.
You also mentioned that you're very charismatic. Was that a learn, or is that something that you
Oh
had
yeah,
to?
definitely. Yeah, that was definitely a learned trait. Just learning to have thick skin and growing up in the community that I grew up in, and having all kinds of things thrown my way. Um, I loved literature at a young age, reading books.
Yeah,
It's one of the few things I was able to actually do when I was wheelchair bound. So reading books and kind of getting tucked away and getting into like some kind of fantasy world where I felt like I was part of the Harry Potter series or off in Narnia somewhere. Those little moments, running off and being in my own little world. I feel like that kind of added to my character, and so I'd bring that to the world. And yeah, so definitely outgoing and always wanting to help out others and meeting people where they're at, hearing other people's stories. So I'm always for it.
anytime I go, like let's say I go out to eat with some friends or family, and if I take a little too long in the restroom when I come back, I'm like, well, I'll just walk in as I'm sitting down. By the way, everyone, as Len says hello, and I'll just sit down. Like, what took you long? I was off in another world.
Yeah,
No,
the wardrobe was
imagination.
calling.
No, I know where we're going to go. This is just something off of the cuff. Um, I believe the imagination is one of our like best gifts that God ever gave us. It's like our taste at being creative,
Mm,
just like
yeah.
our Creator is creative. And I remember one time a speaker at my church once said this powerful phrase, and I actually use this phrase, and I teach men how to use this. But I use this phrase that the imagination is the playground for the prophetic.
Mm,
So in other words, that's where you start believing, start growing. And
mm.
if you don't mind, this can be a random topic, but I mean, have there ever been moments that where you saw that to be true, where you first had to think it and believe it before you could see it?
Yes, absolutely. Um, like even you touched on like prophecy, and that's something in my life that I've always felt like I've had that gift where I've had really deep prayers or even moments in my life where God has guided me to do certain things where like down the line I've had like deja vu moments like, oh my
Mm.
gosh, I've been in this situation before. Like I have very deep vivid dreams even where I feel like the dreams have been manifested later in life in different conversations, and I'm like, wait, I've lived this moment before. And I definitely believe that creativity is stemmed from your just innate ability to dive really deep into yourself and pull out all those like intricate aspects of yourself. I really believe that it really
I
shows
I
when
totally
you're
believe
able
that.
to work on a project or write a book, or artists even like the eye of an artist, like they just have it's a different perspective that creatives have.
And I think one of the reasons why we are struggling with people being creative today is just we are so flooded by entertainment and media and
Mm.
distractions that we're not even allowed the chance to stop and think, chance to stop and just give our mind a break. Um,
Yeah.
like in the mornings now, like I wake up and the first things I say, thanks to Tanya, our mutual friend, I wake up and the first words that come out of my mouth is "I am alive again." Yes, I don't yell it like she does, but I do say "I am alive again." Yes, and then this I got from Albert Chavez. He was one of my guests a few episodes back, but he says like at 5 in the morning he wakes up and he teaches men to get up and just be alone with your thoughts for that first
Mm.
in the darkness for that first however long. He didn't really give a time frame, and so the first 20 minutes of me getting up from my bed, I just sit on the side of my bed, you know, just everything's still off, all the lights are off, and I just sit there. It's a little cold, but I still just sit there and just like, all right. And I say, all right, I give you permission. What thoughts need to come out, and it just let it float out. Not worried about, or even if it, and that's what you're supposed to pay attention to. What's overtaking your thoughts? Like if like the worries of whatever, the bills or the projects or the work, if that's over flooding, then you have to learn to get that balance. Like, all right, why is this taking over? You know, but you just kind of recognize where you're at, and allow yourself that practice of silence
Yeah.
to have
I
that balance.
I start my day in a very similar way. I know a couple of us when we were in Dallas, we talked about, the power and having that morning routine.
Oh
And
yeah,
I start my morning 5:30 in the morning. For the last couple of years now, I've been kind of going through a lot of difficulties. And one way that I've been able to train myself to be more resilient is I start my morning off with a cold shower, and
mm,
I endure that, and it's uncomfortable, and every day, regardless of how often, it's uncomfortable to turn that water on, and it's just cold, every day. And I go through that because I train myself. You know what? This is the coldest that I'm going to feel all day. And I tell myself that same mantra every day. This is the coldest I'm going to feel every day or today, right? And so I do that every day. And then when I get out of the shower, I get dressed and right, and I feel warm, but I know that I've had to endure something in order to feel that warmth and to feel that comfort. And so just it motivates me and it drives me to, now, like, I've had that one success for the day where I've overcome something. Now the whole rest of the day, there's nothing that's going to be that significant that's going to be able to take me out.
that's good. I hope you guys got that practice of resilience, and we're about to get into that too, because you want to be, or at least this is what you mentioned. You are a mentor for resilience. You teach people resilience, and
Yes.
correct me if I'm wrong. Actually, we can talk on that. Why did you decide resilience, and who are the people you've been helping out?
So over my time, I actually started working within psychology, and I started getting a lot. I started taking psychology courses and learning more about how humans think, and I just found that it's really helped myself even,
Mm,
right, utilizing all that information and learning about myself and how I operate and psychoanalyzing my own behaviors, right. And so going through that process, and now I psychoanalyze different aspects, and there's been a lot of times where people have come to me and asked me for insight and help, and it's been like a blessing to be able to like use my gifts of like prophecy and prayer along with the psychology of human behavior, and tying that together with finding um, strategies to help people build up their own resilience within them. And so, like, for myself right now, like, as I continue to write as an author, it's motivating. Every project that I complete or every chapter that I complete towards my goal, it's motivating for me to continue and push through and build that resilience. But like, you referring back to what you said, I think as a community, as a whole, as a people, there's so much distraction in our world,
mm,
and there's so much going on. It's such a fast-paced lifestyle right now, right? And so everyone's trying to get by, everyone's trying to do what they want to do and put themselves first. And so we have people that are stuck on social media, stuck on on their phones. And when you're stuck in that mindset and you can't start your own projects, and you're focused on other people's families and other people's lives and how other people might have what they have, you start to forget your own dreams. And one of the
mm,
reasons why I wanted to start my journey into entrepreneurship is hearing a quote that goes, if you're not creating your own dreams, you're building someone else's, right? And so when you're working for
mm,
someone else, you're building that person's dreams, that company's visions, right? And when you become an entrepreneur, you start to have more freedoms to build your own dreams. Create time for yourself to have that freedom and that balance that you seek in your own life. And that's been one of the mantras I've been living by, and wanting to create my own dreams.
Um, I'm highlighting Jacob Bruce because he agreed, first of all, what you said. Although I think he posted that earlier for something else, but it's true because I know what he does is he helps people stop living for someone else and start living for themselves and building their own legacies and their own dreams and protecting their families. But no, that is so true. Uh, have you ever been involved in high ticket sales? Right now, there's so much I want to agree with you. Like you mentioned psychology, and I was like, there was a time in my life when I was addicted to self help books when I was going to college because
Mm.
it was like a whole superpower. The more I got to understand my brain, the way it worked, and I just wanted to learn more on why I thought certain ways. So I geeked out on a lot of those books. But but anyway, what did I just ask you right now? My thoughts just took off on me.
Uh, you're asking
Oh,
me about.
have you ever in high ticket sales? Have you ever been involved in that?
I have not. No.
I mentored under Taylor Welsh and his team when I first got into high ticket sales. But I remember that part of the process before I could even come in, we had to do kind of like a video interview, like introduction, and I remember I was sitting there and just this thought just came to me, and I looked at him like, bro, honestly, or in the video, I didn't say bro, I was like honestly, y'all, the reason I want to be a part of this is because I know that I am a damn good worker when it
Mm.
comes for someone else. I want to finally work for me, build
Yeah.
something for me. And that is true. Some of us, man, you hit a lot of good things just now, especially the part about we tend to forget our dreams. We tend to put our dreams in the back burner,
Mm-hmm.
and we let uh, the other things of the world kind of take precedent. Or the way I perceive it is, I remember sharing this once, is your dream is something you put like on your desk table, and then all of a sudden you get bills, and then you get uh to-do lists, and then you get all these notes, and before you know it, you have a pile of papers on your desk, and at that moment of just frustration, you just kind of get them all and you sweep them all into the trash can, and you sweep up all that, and in the very bottom of the trash can is your dreams because that's at the bottom of the pile.
Yeah.
And
That's that's
you
how
got
life
to go
works.
in there and pull it out. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no,
But
I was just agreeing with you. Yeah, that's how life works. Sometimes sometimes the dreams end up on the bottom of that pile, and the first thing that goes in that trash. And I think as a people, we need to remember that our dreams should always come first. And I'm learning this myself. I had so many years of just bitterness and
mm,
resentment towards the world, of why I'm not, getting and hitting my markers and of success, and why I'm not getting to where I want to be in my life, and why is it that I don't have time to write a book, or just making all these excuses. And I remember in about, I want to say when I was about 20, 21 years old, I had a mentor in my life who reminded me that and it rings through my head every day. This gentleman actually passed away, but I still remember to this day what he instilled in me. And he told me, Mark, there's 168 hours in a week. How are you using that time?
mm,
And weekly, or even sometimes even daily, there's 168 hours. How are you using it? Right. And so that really dawned on me, like, the typical person, you sleep 6 to 8 hours. That's a blessing, right?
yeah,
You start to add it up in your head. You work 40 hours a week, you add that up in your head. You have self-care, you have hygiene time, you add that up in your head. And then you're still left with a good chunk of time. And it's in that chunk of time that you can use towards your dreams, your ambitions. And that's the chunk of time right there that you could use. There's so much that could be done with that. And for me, that chunk of time, I used to use a lot of that for video games, screen time, Facebook scrolling, the mindless, just everyday activities. And now
yeah,
I use a lot of that time, just that flip, that 70 30 flip. of now using 70% of that time for writing and actual purpose, and just that difference, that implementation has been so effective in my life. And in Dallas, I shared in my talk, one of the concepts that I follow, right, is P equals P minus I, and that's your performance. I'm sorry, your potential equals your performance minus interference, right?
Yeah, I remember
So
that.
so what that means is, right, for your following here, your performance, and you have certain things that distract you in life. You have all the things that come up in life, and are the things that typically we use as excuses. Oh, I can't do this because of this reason. Those are all interferences. Once we
Hmm.
decide to remove those things as interferences, and we decide to perform at 100%, that's when we'll meet our 100% potential.
Did you get that? Did you get that, ladies and gentlemen? Uh, a quick question: how's my audio coming out? Is it being okay, or is it a little um, weird?
Yeah, I can hear you very well.
It's coming out. It's not coming out good.
I hear you well on my end.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. I don't know. It's just sometimes I bought new cables because it was acting up the other day, and I just want to make sure
Hmm.
it's still doing all right. I'm not using my headphones today. I'm just having fun with this conversation. You know, let's talk about where you're going with this, and thank you for sharing what you shared. And we can come back and elaborate. If someone wants to know more about his P equals P minus I, or is it plus I? It was minus I, right?
Yeah, minus that.
Yeah. Comment on it, and we can talk more about this. But this man is an author, and we want to know how he even got into that in the first place. You mind just sharing a little bit about the first book you wrote and how you even came to that?
Yeah,
I want to
absolutely.
be I want to be an author someday. So I want to learn from you, my man.
Absolutely. So, well, I'm still in the begin and the hitting the ground running myself. So the first project that I worked on was a collaboration. I actually had met some amazing people, and we collaborated on the second volume of a book. It's called Faces of Foster Care, Volume
Mm,
Two. I wrote a chapter in that book, and I wrote a chapter just about my childhood and upbringing, going through some difficulties in my life growing up, and starting that opened so many doors for me,
mm,
and grateful to just be able to sit down and finally get through the writer's block of the what ifs and the maybes and everything that was hindering me from actually putting pen to paper and submitting something and getting it out there. And now that I feel like a part of my story has been shared, I just feel completely relieved and just wholesome and being able to write anything now. Like, so now I have a project, a full book that I'm authoring myself, that I'll be releasing in January, late January, and that's going to be some short stories. I'm still working on the structure of it, some poems and short stories, and I want to target men who are going through their own navigating their own experiences with trauma, and wanting to grow and build themselves up and maximizing their potential. And so I'm wanting to target men and help them through that process. And so that's my vision for this project that I'm working on now. And in 2024, I have about 4 or 5 other books that I'm going to be working on, and one where I'm actually doing one playwright as well. I guess there was some popularity with the Faces of Foster Care that I participated in, and it's just been a blessing, man. So we're wanting to actually turn that book series into a whole. Um, I guess they want to do like a whole docu series out of it. So it's just,
really?
yeah. So it's been amazing just being a part of that, and
That is
yeah.
cool.
So I kind of got volunteered in helping with that project, and they were like, "Yeah, so Mark, you're gonna help write the manuscript," and I'm like, "All right, I guess so." So
Well, now
I
you're
just
entering
blessed.
my world, film
Uh,
and entertainment. That's where I learned I had those abilities when I had to step away from ministry because of burnout.
mm,
And oh no, anyway, well, thank you for sharing that. And it's on. When did you say again? January.
yeah, end of January. Right now, still tentative, but shooting for end of January.
Nice. End of January. Look for Mark Estrada's book. I'm not sure if you said the title, or you got to wait on that.
That one. So title is gonna be Drive Safe. Drive Safe.
Drive Safe. I like that.
Yeah.
I like
Uh,
that.
yeah. So helping individuals, particularly men, navigate through their traumas, overcoming that, and finding their full potential. So still working on the small details and stuff like that, but I'm excited about it.
I like that. Appreciate that. You sharing that and putting that out there. Because yeah, I'm realizing more and more my calling for this season is to work with men, especially those who have lost their way,
Mm,
who have lost their purpose, lost their power, and a lot of it has to do because of some trauma that they just kind of pushed it away and hid it because they're too ashamed of it or scared to see what's going to happen of it. But so I'm learning a lot about trauma also and healing from trauma. So definitely I'm gonna have to get a copy of that book so I can have something else to help me out with myself and my journey and other men who I'm going to start working with. And who knows, we might have to do like a collab business partnership in the
absolutely.
future for that kind of stuff. That's
Let's
what I
go.
love about this network. This morning I was talking to you haven't met Coach Nikki. She actually isn't lives in California too, but we're just sharing and talking about how in the past certain people have collabed with other business people. Just they come together to get to receive mentorship, but because they have different ideas and different way of doing things, they wind up meshing together and creating other opportunities in business partnerships. So that's what I love about this world of knowledge, how we can just intermingle and help each other out and provide resources for those who we attract, who I might not be capable or to serve, but I know someone
Mm,
who can help them out. So let's move on. I guess let's just go and just continue on with the questions that I originally sent you. Right now,
mhm.
folks, I haven't even touched the questions because I'm enjoying just going through his story and that he's being he's being open and just answering questions. Thank you, Mark, for that. But so Hey Rockstar originally or is was a story for entrepreneurs, and eventually I started bringing leaders into all this because I I work with leaders all the time and help create leaders. But one of the basic questions that I like to ask because this is all about just growth, self development. And
Mm,
so a lot of things that help us grow is when we find obstacles or things that kind of they're just problems that happen to happen whenever we start on our journey. So, any when you first started towards your journey as an author, towards the journey as a mentor, just as towards the journey of who you're becoming now, were there any like besides the obstacles we already hit, were there any obstacles that come to mind? Any challenges that came to mind when you first started on this journey of entrepreneurship?
um, yeah, obviously there's been a lot of obstacles that I've experienced just in life. Um, as a young man, being you know experiencing chronic homelessness,
Mm,
experiencing just the ups and downs in life, and I've been in a lot of situations in life where God's tested me, and
mm,
and a lot of the times I will say that in hindsight, I know that there could have been ways that could have gone about situations better, right? But that's the part of learning and growth is no one is perfect, and we're never going to do anything perfect because that's not the intention. You have to learn through failure, and now I'm getting to a place in my life where I'm really accepting of myself, and knowing that I'm okay not being perfect, and I'm okay to experience these failures, and if if I write a book and it doesn't sell, it's okay. It's part of growing, right? But the biggest hurdle for me was writing the book. Just write it. You never know.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest motivation for me is like hearing of all the authors that had late starts in their careers. You have like J.K. Rowling, who was like a waitress and struggling as a single mother, and now she's like a multi millionaire who's grown like multiple international bestsellers, right? So you
Yeah.
hear these stories and you're like, oh gosh, like if that's how one person did it, so we're not rebuilding the mold here. We're not recreating the wheel, right? So I'm just motivated now that I've finally gotten over that hurdle, that mental hurdle for myself, and now I'm just putting the paper to pen and starting to write.
Mental hurdle. I'm glad you said that because a lot of our challenges, would you agree or disagree? A lot of our challenges, that's where they start with our mindset.
Hmm.
And most people, well, they don't know what they don't know. But instead, some will use that as an excuse to say, well, I don't know, so I can't do it. While others people like, I don't know, so I need to find this out.
Hmm.
Or I don't know, let's see what happens. different personalities and types on the mindset. So if you don't mind me just picking a little bit about this, because a lot of that, and I'm sure you've noticed this, but would you mind just sharing what has helped you develop a stronger mindset towards what you're aiming for?
Well, really, it's actually just um, studying like growth mindset versus fixed mindset,
Mm.
and the ideology behind that, and the different like terms and like the language that we use is so important.
Ooh, I like that.
Just even in the language that we use, um, I would make statements like, "I want to write a book, but how am I going to sell it? I want to write a book, but where would I start? I want to write a book, but," and so like you can have the dream, but if you're going to do is put it on the shelf, right? And then all the other things in life start to take precedence, you're never going to achieve your dream. It's in the language. I want to write a book and I'm going to start tomorrow. I want to write a book and I'm going to reach out to learn how to self publish on Amazon and send my manuscript to Barnes and Noble and learn how, like, so just learning how to use our language to motivate ourselves rather than deter ourselves is so important.
All right, I'm taking a chapter from your book. I'm going to write a book, and it's going to be a national bestseller.
Yeah.
I'm going to write a book,
Yes.
and millions of people are going to be just blessed by the information they find in it.
Absolutely.
Ooh, yeah, yeah.
Woo.
I'm a big believer. Have you ever heard of the? Here's one of the phrases I used to use as a speaker. I still use as a speaker. Um, but it's have you ever heard you are what you eat?
Yeah.
I like to say you are what you speak. So speak the life you want, not the life
Yes.
other people are
Yes.
telling you to live.
Yes. Absolutely.
What's that promise? Power of life and death lie in the tongue, and those who use it will benefit of its fruit. So whether you speak life or you speak death, that's the fruit you'll eat. So why don't you
Mm.
just start using life?
Yes. Choose life. Choose life.
You just send me on a song. Oh man, we can go on a whole tangent on just the words that you speak, especially as creatives, as and of course this all goes back to in the beginning with the word God created everything, and if we were creating His image, we also have a way to create with our words, speak into existence. Or speak into life. Anyway, I don't know. Let's not go there. I mean we can, but let's there's plenty of videos on that kind of stuff. We won't have enough time. I can only stream for 4 hours. I can't go too much. We got to get more
Oh
of
man.
Eric's story on this. So, mindset, and then of
You
course,
called me Eric.
oh, sorry,
You
not
called me.
Eric. Lord, I
Oh man.
apologize, Mr.
No
Mark
worries.
Anthony. I apologize. I have a bag of chips here somewhere. No,
Oh.
just kidding. All right, so let's move on. When we can come back anytime on this topic, but let's keep going. So, okay, we hit the part where, oh yeah, let's talk about resilience, and or did yeah, we already hit that one. But who are the people you're starting to serve today? Because you mentioned in Dallas, there's people that you're pouring into.
Yeah. So um, over the last couple of years, I started a project, and one of the things that I've been really passionate about within the foster care system is, finding that there's a lack of trauma-informed care practices being utilized. And so I've ventured into gathering a really extensive curriculum. We did a lot of research within a sample pool, and being able to build out a curriculum for a um, trauma informed care practices, and actually being able to provide that for foster parents, group home staff, uh, social workers, anyone who's maybe interacting with foster youth. And so that I started working with a couple individuals, and that took off. We started getting regular monthly engagements with that. And through that process, I started working with a wonderful person who runs a group home. And they wanted to invite me out to come and speak with the youth there. It's a 6 bed. And through that process, I actually had found that they were wanting to expand. I helped them with some grant writing, and that was like something I actually had to learn how to do quite a few years ago. I learned how to write grants, and I helped them raise $60,000 in 1 year, and helped them open their second group home. And that process was amazing. So now they're at 2 6 bed group homes, and they provide wraparound services for these young individuals. They're able to play sports and stuff like that, and it's just been a blessing to be able to be a part of that process. And 3 of the kiddos that are in the group home right now, they're seniors, and ready to go off to college, and to see them now as young men. I definitely know that I instilled a lot in them, because they call me Mystery. Um, and it's interesting because my last name is Estrada, so Mister and then E.
Mr. E.
So they say it fast, and it's Mystery, and I never thought about that. I was like, that's interesting, right? But I guess because there was a point in my life where I was really, how do I say? Uh, I guess I could say I was going through like paranoia, and
I got you.
I was going through a lot of struggles in my life, um, where I was really concerned with the outside view. I was really concerned to what other people thought of me, and just just kind of being in that place in my life where I was self sabotaging, and and so I a lot of the things I was doing in my life, I was feeling like I had to do strategically, and so they're like, oh, you're like a mystery. And so it just kind of stuck, and so they still, to this day, they still call me that. And um to be in their life, and to share my story with them and the things I've gone through, like I can really see how they they take the things that I share with them about my life, and the struggles that I experienced, and what I'm able to coach them through, and they're implementing it. And like one of the things I was like really big on was for them to pursue an education,
Yeah.
and to stay off the streets,
Yeah.
right? Because they're all, the three of them in particular, they're seniors, they're about to turn 18, they're about to transition out of the foster care system. So there's a lot that goes with that. And, I was actually speaking with a friend earlier today. That transition is really difficult because, there's a lot of foster youth. And when they turn 18, they resort to the streets. It's an easy lifestyle, whether it be selling drugs, or getting involved in gangs, that kind of thing. It's a it's a really easy lifestyle to get stuck into, and it's unfortunate. And so one thing that I really wanted to implement was them pursuing an education and staying off the streets. And so three of them, two of them are going to community college. They're already like ready to go, start with summer school. And then one of them is actually going to a D2 um, school. So it's amazing to see that transition, and knowing that they had that support of a community of people that poured into them for them to be in that position now. So I'm thankful.
Dude, no, I'm happy for you, because there's nothing greater to a leader of any kind, or a mentor, or just someone who, or even a parent, to see the people they've been pouring into, their mentee, their children, their youth, whatever, to get it, and to apply what you've given them, and to see their lives become better because of it. And I guess that's kind of why we're into well, at least I'm into the coaching. I'm sure you're about to get into some coaching because you were hanging out with coaches a few weeks ago. I don't know what lies in the future. We'll hit that. We'll hit that question towards the end. But there's nothing greater than being able to pay it forward
Mm,
into someone else's
absolutely.
life.
Yes.
And I think at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, that's really what legacy is.
Mm,
It's it's passing on the values that we were able to accumulate in our journey,
mm.
and making sure that these truths can keep on going and flourishing and benefiting and helping others.
And I'm
Um,
so glad you said that, actually. Legacy. Like, again, that's something, that one word can be an hour conversation, right? But it's so amazing that you said that, because I've always viewed that for myself, not being really motivated by the construct of money, or
yeah.
being motivated by supercars or anything like materialistic. So for me, excuse me. So for me, I've always been motivated by how I treat people.
Mm.
And man, there's been ups and downs even with that, right? Depends on who you ask. And so, and that's just me being real. Like, but me, legacy is important in how you're viewed by other people, right? And you can't take a supercar with you to the grave. You can't take a multi-million dollar house with you to the grave, but your legacy. And that's why I feel like, writing and, becoming an author is so important to me, because that's, and then, oh, then the third concept that's so important to me is my parenting. And that's
Mm.
something we haven't touched on yet, right?
Yeah.
Is my relationship with my daughter is so important, and how I shape her and prepare her for her future. That is my legacy. So, you know, that one word can just open up so many doors of conversation. But yes, those concepts are so important to remind yourself, as an entrepreneur, as a speaker, as a coach, to remind yourself, what do you want your legacy to be, and how can you achieve that legacy? It's it's so that's powerful right there.
That's, I mean, that's what we want. That's what I want. Matter of fact, you and I both know Brandon. He's my mentor that I've been working with now, that I've been entering and building. When we first met, when we first talked, and I had my other what I was working with at the time, and he goes, "Well, what do you want?" Like, well, this is okay, but this is not. I'm money's not that meaningful for me. I mean, it's needed. It's not the most needed meaningful thing. It's legacy. I just, that's important to me.
Mm,
And he goes, "All right, let's see what that looks like." And now where we're going, Matter of fact, and I think about it because even this show's going on. This is episode 99. Next week, we're doing my 100th episode of Hey
Mm.
Rockstar. And I still remember when we were just launching this. I might just do like a quick blurb of when I started, episode 1, and then episode 100, how we changed so much. But even this show, that it's online, it's there for anyone to see. It's a legacy that I can leave behind of my value, my knowledge, my connections, my network, uh the worth that I have. It's free for anyone who wants it. It's powerful. But yeah, it's that's why we journal, that's why we write, that's why we record, that's why we create things. Although, and here's something else you need to learn about me. I know it's your show, not my show, but I got to share this with you. One of my favorite quotes, and I don't even remember who said this, but this quote used to drive me when I was younger. But the I used to tell everyone that my goal in life was to become immortal, and people just
Mm.
look at me like, "What do you mean? You want to live forever?" Like, no, no, no. Men are immortalized not by the feats they perform, but rather
Mm.
by the people they've impacted,
Woo!
because they're the ones who will keep telling your
Yes.
story.
Yes, absolutely. That
And
was
so
deep right there. I need I need to write that down. Oh man, that was
that's my goal, to become immortal, because again, men are not immortalized by the feats that they have done, but rather by the people they've impacted, because they
mm,
will continue their story. They will tell.
yeah,
I did a reel of it a long time ago, but still, it's a good one.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
I still don't know. I've been looking for it. I don't know who said that quote. I don't remember where I read it, where I heard it, but it doesn't pop up that easily. Maybe I
Yeah.
should ask ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT more than I use Google search these days.
Right. Oh man.
But no, thank you for bringing that up. I didn't forget. You are a father, and actually the whole father daughter dynamic. That's an interesting one in itself. But it's also a beautiful, important dynamic to have.
Mm.
Um, uh, but thank you for being one of the ones that sticks around, being the dad. That's the dad. Um, because we've heard stories about that also too. I did have one question. This has nothing to do with the interview. It has more to do with your books. And I don't. I'm sorry. I just jumped off to a different tangent. But you mentioned that the books you're writing, the second book, and then also the other one, the foster care. I'm curious. Although these books are meant to help cater and help those who are foster parents. Am I assuming that correctly?
So the story that I collaborated, the Face of the Foster Care, Volume 2. So that book, it could be for the general public even, but basically it's just to give a voice to
Okay,
the different stories within the foster care community.
gotcha.
Um, you know, there's everyone has a different story. I will definitely say that of the those of us that collaborated on that particular volume, even the first volume, right? There's just so many creative authors that had a different perspective on their particular stories and within the foster care system.
Well,
Um,
what my
so
question was going to be is, would this be good not just for foster parents, but like, how about parents who've adopted children?
absolutely, yeah, definitely be something good for anyone that's fostered, adopted, wants to do so. Anyone that works within the foster care system or child welfare system, definitely a good read. It gives a lot of insight into the different perspectives.
Beautiful, because I have friends and family who have adopted, and um, they're entering, and they wanted to go they didn't go for a baby, they went for like a young kid, and of course he has his past, he has his scars,
Mm.
but he's nothing too rebellious. He's just, he's in the growing up age and such, and sometimes they're like, I don't understand, because they grew up in a life where it's, oh, well, and they didn't grow up with so much animosity between them and their parents.
Mm.
They're learning these things, but like, I want, if this is a good resource for them, I want
Yeah,
them to. I'm probably gonna buy a few copies and give them away,
absolutely.
too. And I want to read it too, because who knows? Who knows? I want to have 7 kids, and they're probably not all gonna be natural.
that that's interesting. I used to always tell myself I wanted 7 kids. I want 5 starters and 2 on the bench. But but now that I have my one daughter, you know what? I'm like, we'll see, we'll see. Kids are a lot.
Well, I was thinking like football and soccer, they both have 11 out in the field, right?
Right. that that was going a little too much. Baseball's what, 9?
Yeah. No, no. Mark, this has been a great show, great talk. Let's go a few more questions and then we'll just chat and we'll see how it ends. But let's talk about just some great things that come to mind when you hear what have been some like aha moments, what have been some just like big takeaways so far in your journey.
Let's see. Some big aha moments for me have been getting over that hurdle of like the mental block of writing, and that getting through the writer's block of actually publishing something.
Hmm.
And for me, like, I collaborated on this Faces of Foster Care project, and that I feel like that process of just writing, when they first had shared with me the criteria was like 3,000 words, and to me I didn't think 3,000 words was a lot, but it was also like just having that writer's block, like, gosh, how am I going to do it? and and then when I broke it down and I realized, like, okay, 3,000 words, and if I do this 15 times in my own book, this is this many hours worth of work and editing, and going through that whole process. And then I started to realize, like, I'm making such a very simple, what, or maybe not even a simple, right? Becoming an author is not a simple thing,
It's
regardless.
not.
But if you break it down into very micro tasks, it can be accomplished. And it takes me back to, like, when coach, when I played basketball, coach would say, how do you eat an elephant? Right?
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time. And so
You
just
always
taking
start with the
that
trunk,
concept.
not the tail.
Yeah, just starting with that concept, and understanding that becoming an author is the same process. It's just one chapter at a time, and even then, you break that chapter down, and you have a guideline to guide you through. And really, it's been an amazing journey to just know that I accomplished it, so now I can just replicate it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here. You too can be an author. Just kidding. You can do
There's ways, yeah,
whatever.
absolutely.
There is ways, but mostly it's whatever you decide to do. Just break it down to smaller steps. Uh, Here's another story. I didn't share this with you. I've shared it once upon a time, but one of the biggest physical feats I ever accomplished was at my heaviest. Let's talk about 360 pounds, maybe 55 pounds. That was my heaviest. I joined a group of 8 um, youth pastors, and to raise money for missions, we rode bicycles for 300 miles, 100 miles a day for 3 days, from Lubbock to El Paso. It was, and I remember even the training for it was a little on the mindset where he told me you just gotta if you get on a mountain bike, he basically told me if you just do the mountain bike and you can get to the point where you're doing 10 miles a day on a mountain bike on the road, you'll be good.
Hmm.
But I guess so because like the mountain bike tires are so big that they grip the road more and it slows you down. And once you get on a
Yeah.
road bike, it's totally different. But um, on I was on day 2. I was riding, and one of the guys who joined us was the brother-in-law of one of the youth pastors, and he just wanted to join us too. But the whole part is we each had to raise money as we did pledges as we did this ride. But this guy was a triathlete, like he was built like a tank. You could tell he was a triathlete. He
Yeah.
had just done a race, and he came for the ride. And it was on day 2 that he was riding with us, and I forgot his name off the top of my head, but I remember looking at him like, "Hey, um, how do you do this? How are we gonna do this?" And he looked at me like, "Here's what you do. He's like, you take a bite bigger than you can chew, then you chew it.
Mhm.
It's that whole, well, I'm in this, but you got to get
Yeah.
it done. And I know that mindset. I guess that's the resilience part of it. Like, hey, I'm, I'm in this. Let's
Yeah.
move. Let's keep moving forward. Let's keep moving forward because moving forward is better than being stuck and not doing anything. But I also like the take it one step at a time, break it down. What's the next step? What's the next step? And that's how I coach my men. I teach them about creating momentum and creating a plan that it's a day to day, but it's more like a spirit led, and it's more about just moving forward towards where the spirit is leading you. And we can talk more about that later. Um, or you can go watch my past videos because I have all my information. It's all in my videos. But to go back there and look it all up, how about I just simplify it for everyone? Create a course.
Um, One of the biggest dreams that I have in my life is to train and complete swimming. Excuse me, my asthma has been acting up the last couple of days. As you know, I'm coming down from having sickness last week. But
Yeah.
so one of the biggest things that I want to train for is swimming the San Pedro Strait, which, if you look on a map, is of LA, is the distance between San Pedro and Catalina Island, and it's been done before. It was a newscast um, of a guy that had like the record time of doing it, and it's a long swim and it's really cold, but it's something that I've always been like, I want to do that. I've been called to do that, and I don't know when. I don't know when, but at some point in my life, that's something I want to accomplish.
Awesome. Then 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 we're rooting for you, my man. We'll be there and encourage you to do it.
We'll see.
Uh and such. So we're getting towards the end of our time here, and it's been such a great conversation. Thank you for coming with us, Mark-Anthony. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for just dropping some valuable points today. But before we go, are there any last things that you would like to just let anyone know before we end today's show?
Not that I can think of. I mean, we covered a lot. Um, I'm really happy with everything that we discussed so far. If anyone um, wants to follow along with my journey,
Yeah.
I know you linked in my Instagram and stuff like that. So definitely have a lot of projects in 2024 that I'm working on, and I
What do
don't
you
know if you're
prefer,
coming
LinkedIn
out.
or Facebook? I mean, sorry, you Instagram or Facebook, or do you have a website?
Instagram is probably best for getting a lot of my updates and such. Um, and right now in 2024, I'm just motivated to get a lot done. So there's definitely going to be a lot more to talk about as we continue this year. And I don't know if you're coming out to LA, but man, that's gonna. I want to see you.
No, that would be a depends how my launch goes. Like come
Okay.
January and how busy I am. But I would like to if I come back to LA, I would definitely come back as a VIP because I want more time to share my stories
Yeah.
and also to promote what I have going at the time. But it all depends on where I'm at the time. Even if it just come to hang out, maybe. But I want to just come back and I don't want like Dallas. I just went to hang out, to catch up with
Yeah.
friends and to hang out and get to meet you apparently. And I
Yeah.
appreciate Tanya for making the introduction. I need to get
Absolutely.
her on here. I'm not sure how accessible she is. So Tanya, if you're listening, I'd love you to be my guest someday. I'm sure that's gonna be one amazing show too.
Yes. 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 Tanya is an amazing person. Um, Man, yeah, definitely a lot of love for
A lot of
her.
good stories.
Yeah, a lot of good stories for sure.
Well, let's go ahead and bring this to a close. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this has been episode 99 of Hey Rockstar with your host, Josafat Emiliano, coming to you from Andrews, America. Just we're people it's just the whole small town vibe and what can happen. Heroes that come from small town. And also I appreciate my guest, Mark-Anthony Estrada, who's coming from Southern California, right?
Southern California, yes.
Nice. Thank you for being here today, my man. Let's see. We already talked about it. People want to find you as Instagram and what else? No, we covered it a lot. So, ladies and gentlemen, do not forget that if you are working with foster kids, or you want to, or if you're a foster parent, or even if you have adopted, you can learn so much from these books that Eric talked about. I'm going to post the link. Sorry, Mark-Anthony talked about. Thanks for laughing, though. That reminds me. I'm going to post this link. You can go to the Amazon and find Faces of Foster Care. I guess it went through. I don't know. But if not, you can just go to Amazon.com, and it's called Faces of Foster Care Volume 2. And in January, look out for Mr. Mark-Anthony Estrada, the author. His book is called Race Forward?
Drive Safe.
Drive Safe.
Drive Safe.
Way off. Drive Safe. And then what's the subtitle?
The subtitle, still working on that.
Okay, cool. No worries. So once again, thank you for being here. I'm about to say it again. Mark, thank you for being here. It's been awesome, and for sharing your story with us today. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for letting us into your homes. Thank you for letting us into your cars. Thank you for letting us into your hearts. So until next time, much love. Let's see, where's the camera? And many blessings. We'll catch you soon.